Hey everybody, welcome back to Bearwood Homestead. As you can see, I'm in the car today, just coming back from the auction. I just picked up a local auction I go to. I didn't realize how big a volume it was, but I had this little van is absolutely full of printer cartridges. I bought a lot of printer cartridges, and it turned out for $8. So I was expecting, I don't know, half a dozen, and there's probably between 75 and 100. So I took a total flyer on it. I have no idea if they're worth any money, but I've done well with printer cartridges in the past. They're all brand new in the box, so probably a pretty good score. So I thought today I would just go over my top 10 tips for getting started on eBay. Now, I'm in the car driving, so the video is probably not going to be great, but the information will be very valuable. I'll apologize because I'm driving and it's a kind of bright day today, so I don't know how the video or the audio is going to be, but hopefully it's all right. So anyways, I'm going to just jump right into it. So when you're getting started, so the first thing, obviously, you're going to have to register for an eBay account if you don't have one. I don't think I need to make a whole video on that. If you have trouble, let me know. But for the most part, just go to eBay and click I want to sell, and you'll get signed up. If you can't follow that process, I don't know, maybe this isn't the jam for you. But anyhow, so let's assume that you already have your seller account set up. So the first thing you're going to need to do is get some feedback. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One is, I'll put a couple links in the description, but there's some e-products on there that will, like I even have one that's in just a little ebook, and really it's 99 cents, and somebody's going to give you great feedback, and that'll get you started. When people look at your listings, it's going to show your feedback. So eBay has kind of a credit scoring system, I'm going to call it, that people can see how you've performed on past transactions. There is a way they can filter it for only your selling, but for the most part, people are going to look at it, and as long as you have a feedback somewhere in the high 90% area, you'll be fine. So the first thing is, I would say you need at least 10 feedbacks. So if there's things you need to buy, go ahead and buy them. If not, just order some stuff to get feedback. Shipping supplies are a good thing to order because you're going to need that anyways. All right, so along that same line, the second thing to talk about is just getting some sales. So eBay has, like I said, they have like a credit rating system in their software. So when you first start, they're going to give you a limit of like 10 items listed at a time. And then as you perform and do a good job, then that limit will go up and up and up, just like a credit card would as you pay it. So the key is to just get started. So my next tip is I would find 10 things around your house that you can list. If you want to, just put them on an auction starting at a penny. Don't sell any junk. You never want to sell garbage. But if you can find a few little items that you could just sell to get you some traction, you want to always keep that maxed. And then once you've sold 10 and you've done what you're supposed to do, then you can ask for an increase in limits. And then they'll go to 100, then it'll go to 200, then it'll go to 1,000, and eventually that'll be nothing to worry about. But it's going to take you probably 3 to 4 months to get your limits really up there. Now, you can always call eBay. Don't be shy to do that. They're super helpful. So don't be shy to call, even if you're trying to get your limits raised. Sometimes they'll want to talk to you on the phone and say, hey, what are you doing? And you can just say, hey, I'm just getting started and I bought a bunch of stuff and whatever. So that's pretty easy. The third one, I guess, is just to kind of think eBay. So anytime you're going to buy something that you don't need immediately, buy it on eBay, because a couple things will happen. One is generally you get a pretty good price, but two, you'll get to see how other people do their listings. You'll see how they package their products. You'll see how their customer service is. You'll see their stores, everything else. So it'll just get you in the mindset of buying from other sellers. Number one, supporting other sellers is a good thing too. But number two, it's just a good way for you to get familiar with the eBay, process. All right, my fourth tip, this one is really important, is to ship fast. When you're new, they're going to give you a lot of options for handling time and everything else and how fast you're going to ship. So the best one, I think, is if you say you'll ship within 1 business day. But sometimes, like for a long time, I had 2 business days. Now, where that's going to hurt you if you have a longer time is if somebody's shopping for something and, the price is the same, but one's going to come a day earlier, they're going to order that one. So if you can do 1 business day handling, I think that's reasonable. You can, if you really want to be aggressive, you can do same day, but that's a little tight for me. So I do 1 business day handling, and then generally, if I'm home, I'll just ship it immediately. If I get the ding on my phone and says, hey, somebody bought something, I'll just go grab it off the shelf and print the shipping label right then. Well, that's going to do a couple things, but the main thing it's going to do, it's going to get you great feedback, because people are going to say, wow, ship fast, arrive quicker than anticipated, whatever that is. Shipping is super easy within eBay. You just click print label, and anyways, we'll talk about that. That kind of rolls into my next one about shipping supplies. So shipping supplies, I recommend, and I'll put a link down below for this also. And like this link, I don't make any money on. I'm just doing it as a courtesy. But the eBay has branded shipping supplies. So you can order packing tape, for instance, that says eBay. So I think it's more, and they have boxes and everything else. I think it's more professional to have the eBay branded stuff. So I order that. It's also pretty cheap. So compared to going to Office Depot, wherever, and you can do whatever you want, but I try to make my packing not look like it came from some home, somebody's house, like it came professionally packed. So I would do that. Shipping supplies, when you get started, here's another tip. You can get a ton of free boxes and padded envelopes and all that stuff from the post office. And if you go to USPS and create an account, they'll even deliver it to your house. So what I did is, when I was getting started, is I would order all that stuff, and then I would pack everything in a priority mailbox, and then I would put it in a poly mailer, which is a bag, like a plastic bag. And so then you can ship it just regular mail. It doesn't have to be priority mail, but you can use those supplies. So a little bit of a workaround. And I'll put a link for poly mailers down there too, just for your convenience. All right, so now you've shipped your item, you've sold it. Customer service, let's talk about that real quick. Obviously, you want to try to respond to messages quickly. If it's something that's not if it's a question that would be relevant to more than one person, then there's a box you can click to make it public on your listing. I always do that for almost everything. I will tell you, you're going to get the idiots that tell you your item's overpriced. They're going to tell you it's not the right one. That color's terrible. Just ignore all that crap. This is a business. People are going to do that. You're going to get a bad feedback every once in a while. That's just the price of doing business. So I guess my next 7th tip would be just to treat eBay like a business. So that where that also comes into account is on returns. You're going to have to decide how you want to handle returns. My personal policy, and I'm not saying this is the right one, but it's how I do it, driving here, is if it's a cheap item like under 20 bucks and there's a problem with it, I just automatically refund. If they say, hey, this thing's broken or whatever, I just automatically refund it. If I think they're being scammy, I'll make them send it back. My general policy is if it's over around $20, unless it's something unusual, I do accept returns, but they have to send it back. So I don't do partial refunds. Like a lot of people get a great deal on something and like, oh, it has a little scratch. Can you refund me $10? And my response is automatically, I don't do partial refunds. I'm glad to refund it if you just send the item back. I'll be glad to provide a refund in full. Because in a lot of cases, they got a great deal on it and they want to keep it. Because maybe they paid 30 bucks for it and it's worth 100 bucks, but it has a scratch. They're just trying to get a little bit extra out of you. So personally, I don't do that. I just say, hey, I'm glad to accept refunds or returns. But you got to return it. Now, if it's small or if there's an extenuating circumstance, I'm going to default back to treat it like a business. Anyways, and if it's something real valuable, always photograph it before, during, and after it's all packaged, so that if there's any claim with the post office, you have that to fall back on. All right, tip number 8 is photos. You can never take too many photos. So eBay allows you, I believe, 24 photos per listing. So even if it's something that, could be the story could be told with one photo, I would take one of each side of the box and one of the back. Like just however you can do it, take as many photos as you can, take close-ups, and if it's something that warrants a lot of description, you can't write enough words. So the more specific you are, the better. And when you have bigger items, dollar-wise or size-wise, sometimes I will not accept returns on those. So I might say, hey, let's say, as an example, I had an item recently that was $140 to ship. I don't want to ship that to somebody and then they say, oh, I don't like it, and I got to pay to ship it back, relist it, all that stuff. I'm not doing it. So I put in the listing, hey, here's the description, here's the photos, and I put usually a tape measure in the photos so that they can see all the measurements. And I just describe it really accurately and say, hey, this item, there's no returns on this item, so please make sure you review all the photos. I always will provide a return if it's not as described. So if I say it's 10 inches long and it's 16 inches long, that's on me. That was my mistake. I'll 100% every time return that. But if somebody goes, I didn't really like the color, well, you knew what the color was. I'm not taking a return on this particular item for that. So that's it. So for pictures and description, the more the merrier. Do that. If you can, ultimately you'll get a photo booth, but even if you just do them with your phone, it's pretty easy. Just make sure you take really good photos and that they're clear and that they can see, especially any defects. You'll actually get, I think you get better performance if you highlight the defects and you say, hey, listen, there's a little scratch. Here's a photo of it. Then people think, hey, this person's really taking the time to describe it. It's probably pretty accurate. All right, number 9, buy it now versus auction. So two formats on eBay. One is buy it now, where it's just like in a store, here's the price. And then the only caveat to the buy it now is you can allow offers. I generally don't allow offers, but if you had a big item and you were open to negotiation, you can do and allow offers. I find that if you allow offers, to me as a buyer, that tells me, well, they're not really firm on the price. I might as well make an offer as opposed to just clicking the buy it now button. So I generally do buy it nows, and then I will reduce the price if it hasn't sold in a reasonable amount of time. I think that buy it now has an advantage that you generally get a higher dollar, and I think that some people just want to buy something. They don't want to wait 5 days for the auction, etc. Now, certain items I will auction. Like if I have big items or I have something that's been around for a while, I just want to get rid of it, I'll just do it in an auction format. The best time to list them is 5 p.m. on Sundays Pacific time. That seems to be the sweet spot for the most people being around to be able to buy it and interact or whatever. So what will happen is during the week, people bid, they'll put it on their watch list, and then they'll get a bunch of reminders from eBay on Sunday night that says, hey, this item's available, it's ending, and hopefully they bid on it. So if you're doing that, and especially when you're new, if you just want to get some feedback and you want to get some traction, I believe that eBay's algorithm gives you points for listing more and selling more and everything else. I think it does. I don't have any scientific data to back this up, but it seems to me that it will help your momentum get going better. So I do auctions on certain items, also real unique items. Sometimes, like I just had an antique record player that was pretty cool, so I put that on auction. I also didn't really care. I paid $20 for it. I sold it for $100. That's fine. A guy sold one similar for $280 on a buy it now. So I might have left a little money on the table, but again, for me, the name of the game is turnover. I'm just trying to keep it moving. So anyway, so there's buy it now versus auctions. I probably do 90% buy it now versus 10% auction. All right. Final one is number 10 is promoted listings. So eBay will allow you to do what they call promoted listings. So it adds, for me, about an average of 10% to your fees. So my typical eBay fee is 13.75%. The typical, for me, the promoted listing, and I'm going to call this an average because it'll give you a recommendation. It'll say, hey, on this item, we recommend 7%. On this item, we recommend 12%. But it adds about 10% to your listings. According to eBay, that gives you 25% more views. So basically what they do is they prioritize your item when somebody does a search. I find that it does help. It seems to make a real difference. So especially when you're getting started and you're, trying to get that traction going, I would definitely go for the promoted listings. I just think it helps. So anyways, so those are my top 10 tips for getting started on eBay. It's making money for our homestead, so hopefully it can make money for you too. If you have any questions, comment them down below. I'm going to keep this series going. I just wrapped up a video on my first week on eBay. And anyway, so I'm going to probably publish those weekly. So if it's something you're interested in, check it out. Thanks for watching the channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Generally, we do more homestead stuff, but this is our homestead finance series for how you can potentially pay for your homestead without having to rely on selling at the farmer's market. So that's it. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.